I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is one of them. We also have a Facebook group of like-minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation, and we would love to have you join us there. You can find us at liveauthentically.today/FB. I also launched my debut book last year. It's called SOAR, SOAR, and it's an experiential journey and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. So next time you're on Amazon, check that out. So I'm super pumped that on my show with me today, I have Brett Hill, and he is here to talk to us about mindfulness. Hey, Brett.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good to hear. Happy Friday.
No kidding. Happy Friday. Spring is busting out here. I'm in Seattle on the West Coast or
Oh,
East Coast. Yeah,
nice.
West Coast. And
Yeah.
it's gorgeous out here right now.
Oh, nice. I've never been to Seattle, but that's definitely on my list. So
Mm.
I'm in the Midwest in Chicago. I don't actually know how warm it is outside today. Haven't been outside, but it's sunny. So I'm
Well,
happy. I'm a happy girl.
there you go. That works.
So I'm super pumped to hear you talk about mindfulness today. But before we
Mm.
dive into all of that, you probably well know by now that I start my shows off with the same question for everyone. And that is, how do you live authentically every day?
That is a great question.
Thank you.
I start my day every day with um, trying to make sure before I even get out of bed that I connect to at least a thought and hopefully a feeling
Mhm.
about what I'm about, which is, trying to live and speak authentically and to help other people find their authentic voice and wake up to kind of who they really are. And I know because of your work, I can kind of go a little farther in that direction than sometimes I do with
Yeah,
mindfulness talk. But my true heartfelt mission is to help people realize that they are not their thoughts.
love that. So, was there ever a time in your life where your alarm clock went off in the morning and you just jumped right out of bed and just started,
Oh
started
yeah.
going through the day?
Oh sure. I've had
How
plenty
did,
of unconscious days.
and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at is how did you start to make that transition from that mode of operation to waking up and, shifting into mindfulness, expressing gratitude, etc.
Hmm. Well, I had to do quite a bit of work on myself. Like, I had some experiences where I decided I needed to get some therapeutic help because a secret to all of this is that you can't really appreciate your life and other people until you have unlocked some parts of yourself. In other words, in my focus where I work with a lot of mindful communications type work,
Mhm.
you can't really listen to other people very well unless you can listen to yourself, right? And
Mhm.
I had some blocks in my system that kept me from really being able to feel good about myself and feel good about being appreciated. So for example, people will often say something to us. It's very common for somebody to say, "Oh, I appreciate you," or "I really like what you're doing." And I used to hear words like that and they would just kind of just be water on a duck. They just you would
Mhm.
hear the words and some part of me would go, "Oh, well, that's nice that they said that," but it was
Mhm.
all very superficial.
Yeah.
And I had to do some work to let myself feel cared for.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I learned to care about myself and my bigger self, if you will, kind of come into my awareness, that I had the capacity to actually connect to something bigger in myself, and that becomes, once you do that, you kind of, if you're not doing that, you kind of feel like you're disconnected from what's true.
hmm
And
So I
then,
believe that, we all have heart awakening catalysts in our life, right? That drop in at various times. And sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's a simple lyric, sometimes it's a piece of art, it's a poem, it's a comment from a perfect stranger, sometimes it's a really momentous occasion in your life, a rock bottom moment, etc. So was there a particular moment in time that you can think about that caused you to set yourself on a new trajectory?
Oh, wow. Well, this gets into some very interesting territory. Um, I was born and raised a Southern Baptist in Oklahoma, and so I have a whole big story about, yeah, because I was like into it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this epiphany one day when I was in college because I was taking a class called Philosophy of Religion,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized what they were saying was that, and the teacher was going, well, you know, our notions of the divine are, the traditional notion of God was basically just like a perfected human, right? You know, all
Mm-hmm.
knowing, all powerful, that just blew my mind. I mean, I went, wait, what? I mean, yes, of course. How could it be anything other than that? And then I realized that that was whatever my idea of was of a bigger thing. It wasn't that. Whatever my idea was, it wasn't that. It was something way bigger, and I may not ever know. And so I had this pivotal moment. I mean, I literally changed that day and became someone who had spent a lot of time in this belief system to someone who I just didn't know what was going to happen or what the truth was. And I couldn't know because of the limitations of my humanness.
Mm-hmm.
And that really opened me up to exploring what that really meant. And that led me to an inner journey to discover the deeper truths um, about who we are and what we're really connected to.
Mm-hmm. So, as you sit here today, do you identify more with religion or spirituality?
Oh, definitely spirituality. I identify as what you might call a modern mystic.
Okay.
Um, I feel the truth in all religions, not
Mm-hmm.
not all authentic religions. I mean, there's some made up stuff, right? But
Right.
all authentic religions that connect to love, truth, beauty, you know, oneness at some meta level, right? And in a fairly big way, I relate to that.
So, what's your definition of spirituality? How would you define spirituality?
Oh, I don't know. I find words so incapable of kind of capturing this kind of an idea. You know,
It's
I
true. I know. I know. I mean, words are low vibrational. I mean, in the whole, you know, in the different levels of consciousness. But let's just say someone said, "Okay, what does it mean? What does spirituality mean?"
to answer that question, I'm going to have to drop into a slightly different state, I think. And to me, I'm just going to go with being spirituality is the pursuit of truth.
I love that.
And and I believe fundamentally that all truth takes you to the same place.
Hmm.
Because and it doesn't really matter what road you take. It's kind of like all roads lead to Rome, right? Or
Yeah.
another way I think about it is like there's a light that shines and it hits a diamond, and all these facets, all these rays come out of these diamond, and you might connect up to one ray or the other, but they all lead into the same. They're all light. And
Hmm.
whenever you start to explore the quality of that truth, they all take you to the same place.
And why do you think we're on this earth?
Why are we on the earth? To awaken, to become whole.
Yeah. And what do you think are the vehicles to awaken?
What does it mean?
What are the vehicles to awaken? I mean, how do we awaken? What does that process look like?
Well, the process is fairly well established if you read the, masters and the old texts. And so there's not much new in that regard. And all of it involves an inner journey, a journey to inside. Who am I really? And I don't mean an academic inquiry. I mean putting it to the test.
Mhm.
What what am I really about? And what are we really about? What's really fundamentally true about me, about you, about humanity, about existence, right? And
Mhm.
really getting a somatic embodied experience of that truth. And whenever that happens, that's what they call enlightenment, right? You wake up to a
Mhm.
bigger self and to the truth that you're not just this little piece.
Mhm.
And the illusion is that you're just this, right? I'm just me and you're just you, and we walk around in our little worlds, and it's like for people who can't see me, I'm looking at a phone, and it's like it's almost like the phone is the body and I'm the being, right? And but we think we're in the device, we think that's who we are. We become identified with the the manifestation of this form, and that becomes really, and that's what I call the small self. And who can blame you? That's who you are. You're born, you're separate, you walk around. There's an ending to where your skin is. It's not everything in the world. So if I'm one, how come I'm not sitting in Chicago right now, right? So it's kind of like there's a big difference between those experiences. And so
Right.
waking up to the fact that there's this other layer of awareness and consciousness, sometimes it's called behind the veil,
Mhm.
is a big deal. So the mechanism for doing that very often is meditation or spiritual initiation. Sometimes people go through big traumatic events or big events in their life that cause them to come face to face with an ultimate truth of some sort. Some people have near-death experiences. Some people have ex- near-death like experiences without the death part, like they have an experience where they just kind of all of a sudden wake up. So it happens a lot of different ways, but they all involve a sincere inner reflection and journey, where at some point you're willing to rip away your preconceived notions of who you are.
Right. I love that. And that's so in line with my definition of spirituality and why I believe we're here. I too have a religious background. And so on my journey from religion to spirituality, I started to think about why we're here and what is the meaning and the purpose of all of this. And my definition is that spirituality is a process whereby I craft my belief system based on my own human experiences rather than adopting a belief system based on someone else's human experiences. And so that for me was a pivot. That was a big pivot because that's why we're here. Then it brings a lot more meaning and richness and depth to our life experiences when we realize that everything that we experience, whether it's really small or a big event, is meant for the purposes of our evolution. So then we start to ask ourselves different questions. We have a different dialogue with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
No longer, why did this happen to me? Kind of that victim mindset, but what can I learn from this? And
Hmm.
how can I allow this to move me forward, et cetera?
Yeah. That's really a powerful, powerful shift. It's what I call when you relocate your center of gravity. Um,
Love
it's
that.
like in a lot of people, their center, like the way, like what are you organized around? And you'll see people find strong leaders and those leaders, the reason people gravitate towards big charismatic leaders is because those leaders become the center of gravity for their identity and for their world.
Mhm.
And you organize around belief systems, whether they be a religion or a politic or some society that you're a part of. Those become you externalize your authority in those belief systems. What you did is say, I am the authority now.
Right.
And I may align with something that's out there, and that's great, but I'm not going to identify with that, and that then becomes my who I am. Instead, there's who I am, and I may align with that, right?
Precisely. Yes.
Yeah,
Well said.
and that's very beautiful, and it's a big deal. It's a
Thank
big
you.
deal.
Thank you. So let's chat mindfulness. I am
Yay.
super excited to hear about mindfulness and again how mindfulness is such an important piece of this spiritual journey.
Yeah.
So let's start just super basic for myself and for our audience. You can just define mindfulness and then
Sure.
tell a little bit about why it's important.
The definition that I use is the one that John Kabat-Zinn uses or proposed. He's the guy who more or less popularized mindfulness in the States, created the mindfulness-based stress reduction system with some others, and wrote a book called Full Catastrophe Living, which kicked all this off years and years ago. So his definition is mindfulness is an awareness that arises when you pay attention in a particular way. Pay attention in a particular way.
Okay.
And that's on purpose, in the moment, and non-judgmentally.
Love that. Okay.
So the practice is simply to be present with what am I experiencing now? That really is the fundamental practice. What am I experiencing now? And then being aware of that in a way where you do it on purpose and you're not judgmental about it. Like if I'm feeling bad about maybe I said something I shouldn't have said, and I'm feeling bad about that, just noticing, oh, I'm feeling bad about what I said, and not judging yourself. Well, I shouldn't feel bad. I should be whole and I shouldn't have these feelings of you. That's just getting down on yourself about the feelings that you're having. So there's an inner critic, an inner judgment there. In mindfulness, you would say, instead of buying into the voice, you simply go, oh, I'm having a thought that I shouldn't be down on myself.
So more in the role of the observer.
Yeah, really, you're being in I wouldn't say impartial, but there's a piece of it that's just impartial, just sort of naming my experience. So in a mindful meditation, you're just breathing and paying attention to something physical, like your breath, just paying attention to your breath. And that's all. What's it like to be breathing? Not in a particular way, although there can be meditations that are like that, and that's fine. And then just noticing your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. Oh, I'm having a thought. Okay, come back to my breath. I'm having a feeling. I'm having a feeling that I'm bored or I'm not very good with this. Oh, there's that feeling. I'm just going to come back to my breath. And you just keep coming back and coming back. And the reason you do that is so that you build this muscle in your neurology to be able to focus your attention on an experience that's in the moment, which is your breath. Eckhart Tolle said a beautiful thing: the body is always in the moment. And so anytime you focus on, what's it feel like to rub my hands together? Really, really noticing the fine textures of the feeling. When you do that, you're not thinking about your taxes or what you're going to do tomorrow, because you're in the moment, right? It brings you into the moment.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of a practice of mindfulness. And once you do that, it opens up a whole new door of what is my inner world like? And you begin then to be able to create a relationship with what am I like inside? And how is that affecting the way I walk through the world? That's a huge, huge inquiry. This is the beginning, in many ways, of waking up.
Yeah. So what does a mindfulness practice look like? Let's say someone does not incorporate mindfulness in an intentional way in their life now, and they would like to. So what would be some of the first steps? I mean, do you set aside a certain number of minutes a day to really be in the moment and build on that? What does this look like?
That's a great question. And yes, you would set aside some time every day, and it doesn't have to be a lot. There's to do some kind of a mindfulness practice. It's sort of like saying, how do I start to play piano? Or how do I start to learn to sing? Or whatever it is you want to do. You have to dedicate some time to learning. And so how much time do you need? At least you need enough to make a difference, because you have to think of yourself as, okay, I want to learn a language. How much time do you need? Well, if I study 10, 15 minutes a day, am I going to begin to learn something? Yeah, you are. And so mindfulness is no different. If you spend some dedicated amount of time every day, and it doesn't have to be a gigantic amount, then you can make significant progress. And the beautiful thing about our neurology and the way we learn is that you can make really big improvements really fast, because there's going from I don't have anything to having something, you can, it is a big deal. Even though you're not like a master, it's way better than not having anything at all, so to speak. It's sort of like if you spent 10 minutes a day learning to play piano in 2 months, how good of a piano player would you be? Well, you're not ready to sit down and entertain a crowd at a concert, but you know a whole lot more about it than you did before you started. Right?
Sure.
So
So I realize it looks different for everyone, but what would be a reasonable number of minutes that people can set aside in the beginning?
at, at least 10,
Okay.
I would say, at least 10. And what you would do is you would begin to practice some kind of a mindful meditation or some kind of a mindful movement. If you can't do meditation, and there's certain people who can't or shouldn't, then you would do some kind of a mindful movement like a qigong or tai chi or yoga, and bringing mindfulness into that process.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, that practice in and of itself will change your neurology in such a way that you begin to benefit from having more conscious moments in your life.
Okay.
In
So is that,
fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. Go ahead and finish.
It's so funny you asked that exact question, because just yesterday, and I wrote and put up on my website a page that's how do I begin a mindfulness practice.
You did not.
I know, I swear, I absolutely did just yesterday.
I
And
believe it. I did not see your website. I did not.
so that's a perfect synchronicity, right?
There is. Yeah.
And so I'm not really here to pitch my website, but at languageofmindfulness.com, there is a page there that has an FAQ and how to get started, and a little 10-minute meditation and an explanation. I'm very happy that you asked that question.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So is mindfulness something that people can incorporate into their lives in a more informal way
Yes,
throughout the
absolutely.
course of the day as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what
What
my
might that,
practice is all about. Yeah.
okay. So what might that look like? Let's say someone does set aside the 10 minutes, they do a formal mindfulness practice. How can they incorporate? What are some examples, some ways they can incorporate mindfulness as they go about their day?
Beautiful. I'll give you two big ways. One that is, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about, is um, I call it enlightenment by 1,000 yummy moments.
I love it.
So one of the fast, direct paths to mindfulness is noticing what lights you up, right?
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. What kinds of things happen in your life, like every day or frequently, that
Mhm.
when you see them, you just automatically go, oh, wow, that's so great, or that's so something. But there's a wow, like, yay, kind of experience in it.
Food. I gotta say,
Food, right?
I'm Italian. Food.
There you go. You see the food and it's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so for me, it's like I love the sky and flowers, particularly spring out here. It's amazing, right? So it's like if I see a beautiful sky or a cloud, it's like, wow. And there's a wow in it, right? And so that's a light up moment. Now that's a neurological event. It's a, yeah, it if I want to get technical, right? And the thing is, at that moment, you are in the moment and you're paying attention. Now, the only thing that's missing is the on purpose part, right?
Mhm.
So if you just notice that you're lit up and you say, I'm going to hang out with this, yes, this wow, for just a moment longer. That's all, just a breath or two.
Yeah.
Then it's on purpose, right? So it's like, oh, there's a cloud, there's a beautiful, an animal, a child's face, and some amazing foods. Wow, okay, I'm lit. I'm just going to steep in this litness for a moment. And what does it feel like to breathe that in? Give yourself that moment a little more. Let yourself have it. Not make it a big deal, but let it be as big as it wants to be.
Mhm.
Now, to do that is a conscious mindful moment, and you'll increase your capacity to do that by doing this mindfulness meditation. Because remember, you're claiming, I'm going to pay attention to my breath. I'm going to pay attention to whatever's going on. I'm going to come back and pay attention to my in the moment experience. Oh, I'm having a big yes moment by looking at a cloud, a sunset, an amazing linguine. I'm looking at it. Yes, I'm going to give myself that moment. See, it's the same skill.
Mm-hmm.
bringing your attention into your experience. Now you can take that into your interactions with people, right? So you see someone, you're talking to them, and you notice that they have a great smile. And you can say, and you're thinking, I really like that smile. And let yourself feel how you like it. And you want to go even farther, say something about it. I don't say this very often, but you know what? I really like your smile. That's a great thing to say to somebody. You're never going to ruin someone's day by telling them they have a great smile, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it really changes the conversation. It, it,
Sure.
it really does. Another way this helps is you've practiced bringing your attention into the moment to your experience. Now, we've been talking about positive things, but what if somebody says, well, Brett, you really messed that up, and I don't know how you could do that and be
Yeah.
critical. I can notice, oh my God, I'm contracting and I want to go, well, wait a second, I don't know because you weren't so great either. I could be reactive and I can notice my automatic response because really, when we're talking about mindfulness, we're talking about trying to break out of automatic mode.
Mm-hmm.
I can take a breath and go, wait, I'm noticing I really, really want to defend myself. And as a double Scorpio, I really want to, nail them because that's what Scorpios are really good at. And I go, instead I go, no, I know I want to react, but I'm going to take a breath instead and say, okay, I see you're upset. Tell me more about this. I can ask for information. I can name that I see what's going on and I can change. And the conversation then goes completely differently. Now, maybe they don't break out of their anger, but I don't. I don't let myself, we talked earlier about center of gravity. I don't give them my center of gravity.
Okay.
I keep it myself, right? That's over here. Now I'm curious. I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm staying open to and I'm keeping the connection instead of breaking the connection. I'm keeping the connection alive, at least giving it its best possibility.
Yeah.
All of that becomes possible because of a mindfulness practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can do that, how does that change the conversations and your ability to engage in relationships, at work, in your organizations, in your communities, with your friends? How does that change all of those conversations?
Yeah, very radically. I can see that how it shifts you into, a mindset of appreciation, out of judgment and into acceptance, and just so many different energetic shifts. Just as I
Exactly.
sit here and listen to you talk, I literally I can feel the shift kind of from the low vibe, and then you shift into mindfulness into how that can shift the conversation into a higher vibe place.
It at least creates the opportunity for that to occur. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key thing is like shifting into a mindful space with someone does not guarantee it's going to go well, but it
Right.
certainly gives you a much better chance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I often say. It's like it's giving a relationship or a conversation or a moment its best opportunity. And that's what else can we do as human beings but up level the opportunities around us, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's a gift to
Right. That's
everyone
really good.
when you
Yeah.
can do that. When you walk around in the world as an enabling function that everywhere you go, you're going to try to up level the conversation. That's a tremendous service to your life and to the world.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. So what are the forums in which you teach people mindfulness? Do you work with individuals? Do you do
Mhm.
public speaking, groups? Tell me a little bit about how you teach mindfulness.
Well, I launched my language of mindfulness.com website in practice about a year and a half ago,
Mhm.
um, because of COVID, right? I had been in the technical world for a very long time and had been studying my whole life somatic psychology and um, mindful movement and meditation and mindfulness. And eventually, and I got to a place with my technical work where it kind of came to an end because of COVID. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a big shift and start to do mindful coaching training. And I have a book in progress and a TEDx talk coming up this year
Oh,
on all of
exciting.
this as well. Yeah. Yay. That's awesome.
Yay. Congrats. I
Thank
can't wait
you.
to check them both out. Awesome.
So that's what I'm trying to do. So I can do one-on-one coaching. I offer free coaching to people for a session to see how it's going, and kind of craft a path for them, and then help them step through embracing more of this in their life. And it's always a liberating experience for people to step into this process.
Sure. I know that you're the guru, you're the master, you're the teacher of what you do.
Please.
But do you ever learn from your clients?
Oh, all the time. I am not at all I'm not finished with my masterpiece, as they say, right? It's kind of
Right.
like I'm a work in progress like everybody else. And that's the thing, is like, I'm a human being. I have tons of problems and flaws. I've had the benefit of some fabulous teachers and instructors,
Mhm.
and also maybe a few more years than other people in terms of putting things in practice. And so to that degree, I can bring a reservoir of experience to bear, to help people in similar circumstances accelerate in their practice and keep on track. And so I have a fairly well structured expert system. People are kind of become expert systems in their head, kind of like when I go to learn from somebody who's been teaching somatic psychotherapy for 20 years, they have they're expert on it, and they know the framework they work in, and they're very good at it. And I've really done my best to kind of download those systems into myself and then apply some of that to other people. And at the same time, realizing, there's a ton to learn. I'm just trying to do my best to integrate what I know with other people. But the basics are not always the same. It's not like cookie cutter, but that's what keeps you safe, is that you keep coming back to the basics, which is, mindfulness practice, coming back to the moment, non-judgmental, in the moment attention. And that always helps.
Yeah, beautiful. I can see how powerful a mindfulness practice is. I know you said your website earlier, but I'd love for you to tell it again for our
Sure.
viewers and listeners in case they'd like to contact you directly.
Sure. It's languageofmindfulness.com. So it's a lot to type, I know, but you can also find it in Google if you just type that in.
Awesome.
Languageofmindfulness.com. And and I have a podcast by the same name, and which is, I've got about 12 episodes there now, getting started with that. That's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
As you know, here.
I love podcasting. This is one of my favorite things. I mean, I love everything that I do, but anytime I have the opportunity to have a deep connected one-on-one conversation with someone, I am all over it. So I am grateful that you have taken time out of your day to impart all of your amazing knowledge and wisdom
Oh, thank you. You're
to
so
our
kind.
audience. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I want to say, I think I mentioned this, but I want to say it out loud to the world. Thank you for your work and
Oh,
for
thank you.
evangelizing, awakening, and the possibilities, and lighting up people about what's possible in their lives. I, as a human on the planet, appreciate that. And so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And it truly is an honor. It really does feel like, rather than work, it feels like service. And as you know, when you're playing a role in awakening others, healing the planet, et cetera, it doesn't feel like work. It truly is an honor and a privilege to be able to
It
help other
really
people
is.
on their journey, and also work directly with people like you, connect with other people who are also invested in healing the planet. So thank you again for being here. And thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. As you well know by now, I believe that time is a choice. And I'm grateful that you keep coming back and listening to these really powerful messages that all of my guests have to share. So thank you all. And thank you again, Brett. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.